The first slap didn't shock me. The silence afterward did. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was opening my inbox the next morning and seeing an email marked Project Delta Ownership Adjustment. I clicked. My name was gone, removed as project lead. No explanation. No reply to my previous 72-hour report. No mention of the 6 months I spent working late while Colton, my husband, passed out in the recliner with beer on his breath. Instead, a new name had taken my place, Colton Mercer. I stared at the screen, blinking twice. Once for disbelief, twice for clarity. Then came the meeting invite. Executive briefing, strategy and comms. I wasn't even CC'd, but the final sting was a forwarded message from HR. One line, per Mr. Mercer's recommendation, Emily Harper will remain in support capacity only. Support. That's what I was now. In work, in marriage, in every damn room I used to lead. I sat on the edge of the bed that afternoon, my left eye still swollen beneath the concealer. The air smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and the cold dinner I never touched. My phone buzzed with reminders. Colton's voice echoed from the living room. Did you send the expense report to my assistant, or do I have to finish that too? I didn't respond. He didn't wait. You know what your problem is? He added from the couch, not even turning his head. You want credit for just surviving. Later that evening, my mother came by. I didn't invite her. She let herself in like always. Rachel had warned me. She won't see it. Not the way you need. Mom paused when she saw me, her eyes flickering to the bruise just under my eye. The makeup had cracked. I hadn't reapplied. I didn't care. Her mouth opened, then closed. You should really be more careful, she finally said, heading toward the kitchen. He's under a lot of pressure these days. I didn't speak. She poured tea. I watched the steam rise like smoke from a house already on fire. That night, I sat in the bathroom with the door locked, just like I had too many times before. This time, though, I wasn't shaking. I was planning. Rachel arrived exactly when she said she would. She didn't knock loudly, just 3 taps, a code between us now. She stepped inside wearing black jeans, hoodie, and calm fury. She looked at me, saw the bruising, the way my eyes had dulled over the months, and she didn't cry. She opened her bag and pulled out a slim folder, already tabbed. Start here, she said. This is what they don't expect. Receipts. Inside, screenshots of joint accounts. Withdrawals made at 3:07 a.m. to a gambling app. Internal emails from his assistant referencing meetings that didn't exist. 2 notarized forms showing him forging my signature on lease documents. I looked up at her. What happens when he finds out? Rachel smiled, tight and cold. He'll either panic or lie. Both are useful. At 2:17 a.m., I crept into the office room. His office, the one he insisted I not touch. I opened the drawer labeled Taxes 2022 and pulled the envelope from behind the false bottom. Inside were printed statements and a USB drive. I copied everything, transferred it to the private cloud Rachel set up under the name Harper Index, password protected, triple authentication. And then I sent the link to my own email, a failsafe, a mirror, a beginning. The next morning, I walked into work with a black turtleneck, 0 makeup, and eyes that no longer asked permission. I passed the HR manager who had emailed me the night before. She nodded politely. I nodded back, but didn't stop. I printed a document and walked to the office of our chief risk officer, who also happened to be Colton's former mentor. He looked up. Emily, I thought you were in project support now. I dropped the folder on his desk. Not anymore. He opened it, his brows pulled together. You'll want to read page 4. That's the part where Colton used company travel funds for a non-existent client dinner in Atlanta. He blinked. You're accusing your husband of fraud? No, I said, voice even. I'm proving it. He opened his mouth to speak, but I was already walking away. That night, Colton tried to kiss me. I turned my face. You think you're clever? He muttered, jaw tight. I didn't answer. Keep pushing, he whispered. You won't like where this goes. I looked him in the eye, and for the first time in months, I didn't blink. I already don't. If you've ever been ignored after giving your best, type 1. Your silence doesn't make you invisible. The moment I walked into the Monday morning executive debrief, I knew something was off. It wasn't just the way the room went quiet when I entered. It was the slide on the screen. Q2 launch strategy, presented by Colton Mercer. I blinked once, then twice. The deck he was standing in front of? Mine. The data analysis? Mine. The visual layout? Still had the typo in the header I hadn't fixed, and there he was, my husband, presenting it like he'd built it from scratch. His voice was smooth, confident, familiar in all the ways that used to comfort me, but now scraped like sandpaper against my skin. Emily provided back-end support, he said, nodding at me as if I were an intern, but the primary vision was mine. I didn't speak, not yet. When the presentation ended, the CEO clapped him on the back and said, "This is the kind of initiative we need from our top communicators." Great job, Colton. I walked out without a word, but Rachel was already waiting at my desk. Her jaw was tight. She held a flash drive in her hand like it was a weapon. "Tell me you saw that." I did. "Want the raw version you emailed me last week?" I didn't even answer. We both knew the answer. That night, Colton acted like nothing had happened. We sat at the dinner table in silence. He twirled pasta onto his fork while scrolling his phone. "You didn't seem too thrilled in the meeting," he finally said. I looked up. "Because you stole my work." He didn't even blink. "Don't be dramatic. You're not the only person with ideas." It wasn't an idea, it was weeks of data modeling. I ran the projections. You copied my slides. He shrugged. "You're emotional. I cleaned it up, made it presentable. That's how things work." My hand trembled slightly on the fork, but I forced myself to stay steady. "I sent the time-stamped version to HR." He laughed. "So now we're playing that game?" "No, I'm documenting." Rachel and I met at a co-working space 2 days later. She brought 2 coffees and a folder labeled Insurance. "You're going to need this," she said. Inside was a printout of Colton's VPN activity. She'd pulled it from the internal audit system. The log showed multiple unapproved file transfers from my personal folder to his drive. "Technically, he could be fired for this alone," she said. "Technically," I repeated, "but they won't. Not yet. Not unless it's public." I leaned back. "I don't want this to become a circus." "It already is. You're just not the one handing out the tickets." That weekend, we launched something small but precise. A landing page on a secure server Rachel built. 3 testimonials, mine, Dana's, and Alana's, each with receipts, text messages, voicemails, transaction logs, medical notes. No commentary, no names, just the facts, just the proof. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming the truth. Then the retaliation began. A letter from Colton's attorney arrived at the house. Cease and desist. Defamation claim. Threat of restraining order. Against me. I handed the envelope to Rachel without reading the last page. "He's panicking," she said. "Good. Now we document that too." The next email hit harder. HR termination review notice. Employee, Emily Harper. Subject, misuse of company data. Internal investigation pending. I stared at the screen. I had logged everything, backed up every interaction, filed every version. And now they were accusing me? I marched straight to the HR office. The manager looked up like she'd been waiting. "Emily," she said, trying to sound neutral, "we've received a complaint." "From my husband, I assume." "I can't say." "I can." I dropped a USB on the desk. "That's the project metadata, versioned by week. Time-stamped, authenticated. You'll see who accessed what and when." She hesitated. "This puts us in a difficult spot." I leaned in. "No, you're already in it. The only difference now is who you decide to protect." That night, Colton slammed a cabinet shut loud enough to rattle the wine glasses. "You think I'm just going to let you destroy everything I've built?" I didn't flinch. "I'm not destroying anything. I'm exposing what you stole. You're delusional. You're angry because you couldn't keep up." "I kept everything, Colton," I said quietly. "I kept screenshots. I kept logs. I kept the voicemails." He stepped forward, menacing. "You're going to regret this." I met his gaze, steady, cold. No, I said. You are. If you've ever had your work taken and your truth dismissed, type 2, your receipts matter. At exactly 9:03 a.m., I received the email that made me stop breathing. Subject: Termination review completed. Immediate action required. Sender: Corporate Legal, Mercer and Lowell LLP. My eyes scanned the words twice, then a third time. They'd done it. Colton's firm had officially cut ties with me. Your actions have caused reputational harm and exposed proprietary data, the email read. The irony stung harder than any bruise ever had. The truth I documented, his lies, his theft, his manipulation, was being twisted against me. And yet, beneath the anger, I felt steady. Because this time, I wasn't alone. An hour later, I sat in a video call with Elisa Carrington. Her hair was pulled into a bun, no makeup, eyes sharp and already scanning through the files I'd uploaded the night before. Her voice was calm, but her fingers moved fast, cross-checking timestamps, metadata, matching voice recordings to financial withdrawals and hospital visits. You weren't exaggerating, she said. There's enough here to crack more than a headline. Possibly a network. A network? I asked. She nodded. Look at this. She shared her screen. A familiar name popped up. Camille W., a former patient of a therapist who once worked with Colton under a different corporate wellness program. Camille had submitted a private statement a year ago, alleging inappropriate conduct, coercion, and data misuse. The firm quietly settled. NDA attached. Different state. Same methods, Elisa said. This man's not just abusive, he's patterned. My hands trembled slightly. Can you connect us? She already agreed. You'll meet her tonight. That evening, I walked into a small conference room at the Mason Street Community Center. Rachel was already there, seated beside two other women, Dana and Alana. Dana wore a sharp blazer, arms crossed tightly, a thick manila folder resting on her lap. He forged my name on a business loan, she said simply, left me with $18,000 in tax debt. Alana added, he told the police I was mentally unstable, then used that to drop the custody order. We didn't cry, we didn't whisper, we strategized. Each of us uploaded our files, bank statements, restraining order requests, text threads, denied police reports, into a shared encrypted drive labeled Not Just One. When I added my last file, Colton's voicemail, slurred and cruel, saying, "You're just here, you're nothing." I paused and wrote a caption beneath the audio. We heard each other. The article went live at 7:02 a.m. the next day. Headline: The Hands Behind the Silence. 3 women, 1 man, and a system that looked away. It spread fast, local, then regional, then national. By 9:20 a.m., Colton's firm released a public statement. We were unaware of ongoing investigations. The employee in question has been suspended pending review. We condemn all forms of abuse and manipulation. But it was too late. The screenshots were real. The bruises were time-stamped. The truth was louder than any apology. At 10:43 a.m., my burner phone buzzed. A text from a blocked number. Fix it, or I will. I stared at it for a full minute before replying. No, I just finally corrected one. By afternoon, we received word from the Fulton County DA's office. A woman named Taryn Everett called to say, "We're reopening your case, Emily. New evidence changes the landscape. I'm sorry it took this long." I didn't cry. I just whispered, "Thank you for catching up." Later that night, I stood in my apartment, lights dim, windows open, a candle flickering beside the laptop. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Colton, a live video on Instagram. He looked disheveled, voice cracking. "I never wanted this," he said. "She's destroying my life. I loved her." I didn't flinch. I opened my own social app, uploaded the photo I'd kept hidden for years. A hospital wristband, dated exactly 1 year before our wedding, from the night I'd been pushed down the stairs. No caption, no commentary, just the truth. It took only minutes to go viral. At 4:16 p.m., I received an email from Camille. Subject: Thank you for not staying silent. Below it: He tried the same thing with me. No one believed me, but your voice gave mine a place to land. I sat back, closed the laptop. Outside, the city moved on, cars honking, children laughing, sirens far off. But in my apartment, it was still. Not the silence of fear, but of clarity. I walked to the window and lit a second candle, because someone else out there might still be waiting for proof. If you've ever been told, no one will believe you, type 3. Because truth doesn't need permission to exist. The next morning, a court summons arrived, not for a restraining order hearing, but for fraud and data tampering, filed not by me, but by the district attorney's office.